Duel Masters is a trading card game that's gigantic in Japan and had a shorter life than Fusion Fall in America. The game has crossed over with a variety of franchises like Mega Man, Monster Hunter, Power Rangers, and Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a trading card game that's gigantic in America and exists in the shadow of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Duel Masters in Japan. It has recently begun crossing over with a variety of franchises, like the Jeff Goldblum cinematic universe and Bullshack Dragon from Duel Masters. But there isn't a fully fledged crossover with Duel Masters yet. This is ironic because Duel Masters is produced by Wizards of the Coast and is explicitly inspired by Magic as a kid-friendly alternative. The cards are functionally very similar, with every card functioning as a basic land for its color identity and power rating as power and toughness. Duel Masters has a scarce secondary market. You can't even buy it on TCG Player, this video's paid partner. Use the link in the description to help out the channel. Since Duel Masters can't be purchased on it, is it possible to recreate the original American Duel Masters starter decks using just Magic cards? Let's see by going through and categorizing each card as functional equivalent, meaning it's as close as it can be within caveats, Sharpie equivalent, meaning it's functionally equivalent if the words are sharpied out, or stretch equivalent, which means values on the cards would have to fundamentally change to be the same. As a bonus, if the artists of Duel Masters cards have done the art for Magic cards, I'll include some too. This video is intended for players generally familiar with the rule sets of both games. If you aren't, I don't want to poach the views of the many creators who have outlined their rules in separate videos. With that said, here's some caveats before we begin. The power and toughness being the same turned out to be a big hindrance, so when possible, I'll just try to match the power of Magic cards. While both games essentially have white, blue, black, red, and green, color identity specific mechanics like haste on red creatures in Magic aren't distributed the same way in Duel Masters. These will be stretch entries. For them, I'll prioritize matching card attributes over color breaks. Number 3, some effects don't translate into Magic. For these, I'll do my best. Caveat number 4, each game has implicit rules not explicitly written on the card. For example, in Magic, every creature that can block does not have text indicating so because the rules imply that they can. Same with every card in Duel Masters being able to be played as a colored mana source. And lastly, this is just for fun, so if you have better ideas, feel free to make your own video. The starter decks are each 20 cards, one being light in nature and the other being fire in nature. These are clearly Selesnya and Boros in Magic. We'll start with deck 1, the Selesnya deck. Our first card is Locke, Vizier of Hunting, which is a white vanilla 4-mana creature with 4 power. So per caveat number 1, I'll consider this a Loxodon Convert, which has pretty awesome art. This is a functional equivalent. Next up is Mael, Vizier of Lightning, which is a 3-mana 1-power creature that taps an opponent's creature when it enters. There are a few white creatures that tap other creatures, and only 2 white creatures that do so upon entering. Binding Mummy has a 2-mana cost, and Brightmare has 2 power and a more complicated ability. So I think we can do better. The closest card is Proud Mentor, because it matches the mana cost and power, and with a little bit of sharpieing, can be functionally equivalent. So it is a Sharpie equivalent. The artists of Miel, Vizier of Light, did an iteration of Chromatic Lantern in Ravnica Remastered. Senatine Jade Tree is a 3-mana 4-power defender. There are only 5 3-mana 4-power defenders in Magic, and the majority of them have effects, so I consider Plumeveil to be the closest. It's white, has defender, and having flying and flash makes it a Sharpie equivalent because we can erase those. The artist of Senatine, Jade Tree, did the art for the Japanese iteration of Claim the Firstborn in Strixhaven. Ayer, Vizier of Bullets, is a white vanilla 3-mana 3-power creature. There are a few functional equivalents in Magic, so I'll settle on Loxodon Linebreaker. Emerald Grass is a 2-white mana 3-power defender, which doesn't exist in white in Magic, but does exist in blue and red, which checks out because Defender is an underutilized mechanic in Magic overall. We'll go with the Piranhas, which is a stretch equivalent. The artists of Emerald Grass did the anime art for Covert Technician in Neon Dynasty. La Uragiga Sky Guardian is a 1 white mana 2-power defender creature. The closest equivalent to this is Novice Knight, which technically has an extra ability, but that's irrelevant since there aren't any enchantments or equipment in this era of Duel Masters. This is a Sharpie equivalent. Holy Awe is a white 6-mana spell that taps all of your opponent's creatures. It has a shield trigger effect, will ignore per caveat 3. White doesn't have a 6-mana spell that taps all opponent's creatures, except for a hybrid mana spell called Thoughtweft Gambit that also untaps your creatures. So this is a Sharpie equivalent. Moonlight Flash is a 4 white mana spell that taps up to 2 of an opponent's creatures. This only has 1 match in Lead Astray with function, but that's 2 mana, so it's a stretch equivalent. Sonic Wing is a 3 white mana spell that makes a creature you control unblockable. This effect doesn't exist in white for instants or sorceries, and is often a creature effect or enchantment. The closest card in Magic is Slip Through Space, which is a 1 blue mana spell that also draws a card, making this entry a stretch equivalent. Now on to the green or nature cards from deck 1. Trihorn Shepherd is an iconic Duel Masters card, and it's a 5 green mana, 5 power creature. There are many functional equivalents to this in Magic, as old as 5th edition, so I'll equate this to Silverback Ape. Dome Shell is a 4 green mana, 3 power creature with Power Attacker, which means it gains 2 power whenever it attacks. It's also a freaky sweet insect. And if you didn't know, I also have other videos talking about fictional freaky sweet insects. There are many green 4 mana 3 power creatures that gain 2 power from other means, like entering the battlefield, being blocked, or threshold, but not from attacking, since power doesn't impact damage to life in Duel Masters, only when an attacking creature is attacking another creature. The closest equivalent is Snorting Gahr. I consider this functionally equivalent, using caveat number 3. The artist of Dome Shell did the anime art of Defense of the Heart, which is a really good commander card. Seriously, I've won more games with this card alone than any other card. Buy it if you are upgrading a green commander deck. Forest Hornet is also a freaky sweet insecta. If I were doing a video of what insecta it was based on, I'd probably guess a Forest Hornet. It's a 4 mana green 4 power creature. There are many functional equivalents to this in Magic, but I chose Rumbling Baloth because its art is epic. Bronze Arm Tribe is another iconic base set Duel Masters card. It is a 3 mana green creature that places the top card of your deck in the mana zone. In Duel Masters, every card is functionally mana, so this translates to Magic as a 3 mana 1 power creature that places an untapped land from your library on the field. Golden Wing Striker is a 3 mana 2 power green creature that gains 2 power when it attacks. Much like Dome Shell, this ability is rare in Magic. The closest creature I could find with this ability is Reckless Pangolin, but Reckless Pangolin only gets 1 power when it attacks, so it's a stretch equivalent. The artist of Golden Wing Striker has done a number of cute cat cards, like Violent Outburst. Aw, so violent. The final card of Deck 1 in the Duel Masters American Starter decks is Burning Mane. It's a 2 mana vanilla green creature with 2 power. A 2 mana 2 power creature in Magic is commonly considered a bear because of the alpha card Grizzly Bear, and that is the functional equivalent to Burning Mane. The artist of Burning Mane is the artist of the anime variant of Ugin the Ineffable. The second deck in the starter decks is a red and green or fire and nature or gruel deck. Draglade is a 5-mana red 5-power creature that attacks each turn if able. There are magic equivalents that are functionally similar, but with an added side effects, making them Sharpie equivalents. Manticore Eternal is my favorite, so I'm picking that one. The artist of Draglade has done the art of over 20 magic cards, including Wicked Akuba, a personal favorite cube card. Meteosaur is a 5-mana red creature with 2 power that destroys a creature with 2 or less power when it enters. There are 0 5-mana red creatures with 2 powers that destroy a target creature when it enters the battlefield. There is a Goblin Commando, though, which deals 2 damage when it enters the battlefield, which I consider the functional equivalent per caveat 3, since creatures with power 2000 in Duel Masters are similar to 2 toughness or less creatures in Magic. Super Explosive Volcanodon is a 4-mana 2-power red creature with an awesome name that gains 4 power when it attacks. There are red creatures with this cost and power that give +2 and +3 power on attack, but not +4. There are no red creatures that give +4 power on attacking, so I will consider Battle-Rattle Shaman to be a stretch equivalent. The artist of Super Explosive Volcanodon did a 30th anniversary variant of Destroy Evil. Firesweeper Burning Hellion is a card that my mom detested because it had the word hell in it. It is also another creature that gains power when it attacks, but it is a 4-mana 3-power creature that gains 2 power. I'm sure you can tell by now that there aren't many creatures that gain power by attacking. There is a Sharpie equivalent for 4 mana with 3 power that gains 2 power on attack though. It's Scrappy Bruiser. Immortal Baron Vorg is a tongue twister and a vanilla red 2-mana 2-power creature. There are many functional equivalents in Magic, my personal favorite being Defiant Khenra. Tornado Flame is a 5-mana red spell that scared me as a kid because I thought it depicted gore. Omitting the shield trigger using caveat 3, this destroys a creature with power 4 or less. We can use caveat 2 to equate this to Magic by having it deal 4 damage to a target creature. This card has a functional equivalent to Cleansing Screech. Crimson Hammer is a 2-mana red spell that destroys a creature with 2 or less power. With caveat 2, we can equate this to Magic by having it deal 2 damage to a target creature. This is a functional equivalent to Breath of Fire. Burning Power is a 1-mana red spell that gives power attacker for the equivalent of 2 power. There are many red spells that do this. We can count those that just give 2 power or those that give 2 power and 2 toughness. As far as options specific to attacking creatures are concerned, there are 3 that are all Sharpie equivalents. For simplicity, I'll select Raze the Effigy. The green or nature side of Deck 2 contains cards from the green side of Deck 1, specifically Dome Shell, Bronze Arm Tribe, and Burning Mane, which might be a Burning Man pun. There are 2 green cards exclusive to this deck, Fearfang and Aurablast. Fearfang is a vanilla 3-mana green creature with 3 power. There are multiple functional equivalents in Magic, but my favorite is Gnarled Mass. I haven't seen that one before, and the art is pretty cool. Aurablast is a 4-mana green spell that gives all attackers +2 power. There are no 4-mana spells in green that do this in Magic. There are very few spells that give all attacking creatures power, so we'll have to consider this a stretch equivalent with Stampede. Lastly, the artist of Aurablast has done the artwork of a number of cards in Magic, including Magma Giant. If you want to be silly and make these decks in paper, I've added their lists in the description. You'll have to get Sharpies elsewhere though. Making this video has been a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you have a friend that likes either of these games, please send it to them. Thank you to my patrons for making videos like this possible, and thank you TCG Player for supporting the channel.